Good morning, afternoon, and or evening, fellow gamers. Today I'm going to be talking about how democracy is currently downfalling and arguments are now just turning into people screaming at each other. But before we get into the video, roll the intro. Back to the video. Today I'm just going to be talking about how it's called democracy is getting destroyed and it's just. So first off, just going to say how it's downfalling. It's because sorry about that. It's because of what's it called? People always, nowadays, people are always, what's called, using false evidence, being stubborn, what's called, end up being screaming, etc., etc., etc. And you can clearly understand it. And yeah, I mean, if you ever seen a presidential election or go to Twitter, you can see that people are can't argue peacefully or have a discussion because it always ends up being it always ends up being screaming at each other and saying random things that don't matter and like saying, oh, you don't know this, you don't know that, even though the person saying it doesn't know this, doesn't know that, and etc., 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 etc. Now, if you want me to, yeah, that's basically some evidence from it, but yeah, now I'm gonna quickly talk about how it affects in the political world. This is not a specific things for one party or the other party, if you're specifically wondering. No, this is for both parties, and you can clearly see this in so basically all parties are stupid now, being all of them are outrageous and overly, what's it called? Emotional. Let's look back to the 2016 election. Once Hillary lost, everyone thought the Russians was called helped Trump win. But when Biden won, everyone thought Biden cheated. So it's not something that's only for like a Democrat or a Republican or for any of these parties. It's just people are always stupid, and yeah. I just don't understand why people are always like this screamy and doesn't understand when they lost. I mean, back in around like the 1900s. Once the president you were voting for lost, they didn't cry like, "Oh no, he cheated. He used some illegal stuff." They were like, "Oh well, we lost. All right. Well, guess we lost. Gotta move on." But now democracy ends up just screaming, and yeah, which is very, 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 very bad, and I greatly dislike because I really love having a discussion with someone. But it always ends up into screaming, someone calling me stupid, someone saying things that aren't true, yeah, not using evidence to back up stuff, etc., 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 etc. Now, I don't know why the world has probably gotten into this. Honestly, I don't know how the world has gotten into this current state where people don't want to discuss and they just want to argue with one another. Honestly, it's shocking how the world changed for the negatively in a discussion. I mean, I really loved having a good discussion, but no one ever was called wants a good discussion. But yeah, because they always end up turning into screaming, and then yeah, like I stated before, I actually wonder how. I sound like repeating myself. Okay, on to the next point. I really actually wonder why why this has became to where it is, cuz honestly, I don't understand why everything became how it is right now. I mean, what could have caused this? I really don't know. Is it the internet? Is it something like that? I don't really know. It's honestly stupid how it became to how it is, and honestly, I don't know how it works or why people are so like what's called easily infuriated nowadays, but I believe it's just because it's survival of the fittest. I believe I'll just This is just a theory, I believe. It's not completely true, but in my opinion, survival of the fittest currently doesn't exist that much because, yeah, back then, what's it called? Back in primal ages or industrial ages, basically the Einsteins would manage to go on and multiply while the Karens would not manage to do that. But now, it's the complete opposite and hypocritical because that now is called not as good genetics is being passed around, but yeah. And anyways, also, what was that? I really had another point. Oh yeah, and now words are more important than actions. Wahoo! Yes, I know it's obnoxious. Yeah, basically, if you say, "Oh look, I'm a good person," people think, "Oh yeah, you're a good person." But if you stay silent and are a good person and just do good actions, no one actually notices it and just think, "Oh wow, you're a person and you didn't do anything good." So yeah, you're not a person. And this can clearly be seen through the PewDiePie situation. I mean, it's obvious that people only always think about the words. I mean, oh look, yeah, PewDiePie, he said the N-word once, and then, but he does donate a lot of money. He still said the N-word, so he's a racist, even though there's clearly no evidence besides that to prove that. So honestly, it's, in my opinion, having a good discussion is now absolutely stupid. You can't even have a good discussion anymore. And I really wish we could. And I love well thought out arguments, but when they're not well thought out and end up screaming, it just becomes so obnoxious. And that's why it's called have great dislikes for uh, these nowadays arguments because they just end up turning into screaming at one another and then becomes absolutely stupid. And yeah, I know. And also, yeah, Twitter's also a good example of how words are now more important than actions because people will say, "Oh, look, I care about the community. Oh, wait, never mind. I actually did nothing and just said it. And actually, look, this person said a bad thing. Even in reality, they're not a bad person." It's honestly so stupid. I mean, if you clearly are saying that you're a good person, you're not a good person. That just proves your what's called stupidity and how you're actually very selfish and how you believe that what's it called you're a good person, but in reality you're a very boastful person. I mean, if you say that actions speak louder than words, or they should. Until now, society actions are now not as loud as words. So it's honestly stupid how we can't have good discussions. And I'd really actually love to have a good discussion with someone, but again, someone always gets fired up. And yeah, so I don't know really what the cure it is to this problem. I just believe that people need to realize how big their actions are currently and how they aren't as good. I mean, I want to say another example, but again, I don't currently have one at mind. Oh yeah, and also, people love what's called hate believing that the person they admire is a bad person, and I understand that. What's called feel. I understand that it's very difficult to lose, but sometimes you just gotta accept. Once you lost, you lost. You can't come back. You lost. You lost the game. You have to admit it. So I've naturally actually developed a thing in me that allows me to usually give up once I can't win. So yeah, that's actually a thing you gotta get used to. You gotta get used to losing a battle, because if you don't, you're gonna end up looking like a Karen or a stupid idiot who's an egomaniacal ape. So yeah. So just learn how to not become as stubborn and learn to be a disciplined, polite person. Because honestly, that's what I believe is how to counter this. What's it called? Argument. This argument. What's called stupidish disease that's going around. Well, no, it's not physically a disease. That was just me making a comparison to it in a disease. Sorry about that if I made you think that, but yeah. Yeah, honestly, I just really wish I could get an argument. Okay, at the end of the story, people are always screaming, salty, and hate losing, and can't have a good argument because they can't be wrong. And I really just wish the world can become what it used to be, where it was actually peaceful and people could argue with one another without anyone screaming or committing arson or any of that stuff. So, yeah, hopefully this rant actually made you, the viewer, happy, and also roll the outro.